welcome to the European Nuclear Society's Young Generation Network's video podcast. So today is YGN, the UK's YGN's turn, and we are hosting from the UK Sellafield. This is our beautiful decorations. Today I am interviewing Corhyn Parr. She is a CEO for Nuclear Waste Services and has a brilliant and fantastic background, which we're going to hear today. So first off, thank you so much for doing this for us. So how did you get into the nuclear industry?
Well, by accident really. I was partway through my engineering degree and just wanted to experience a bit more real life, and so I sent my CV out to 50 companies, and the first one to respond was a nuclear consultancy called ENS. And it was only when I was sat in the waiting room waiting for my interview did I read the brochure and realise it was all about nuclear energy and nuclear decommissioning. And it didn't put me off. I thought, okay, we'll give it a go. And they offered me a year in industry placement. And I just had such a fantastic time in that year. It helped me with my final year dissertation. And then they sponsored me through that final year and gave me a job afterwards. So it just kind of changed everything, really. But it was all by accident.
Amazing. Nuclear is something you fall into, isn't it? You don't wake up one day and go, I'm going to be nuclear.
You know, it's true. Everybody that you talk to discovered it by accident, but then find it really difficult to leave. Yeah. I mean, what other sector would you work in that's as interesting as nuclear? Yeah.
So how did you get to the position you are in? Because you've got I have done a little download of your career. You started off as a project manager with AMEC in 2001.
Yeah, so let me start even further back from that. So my first job before project management was I was a safety case engineer doing finite element analysis. Ooh. Exactly. And my personality is quite out there, and sitting doing calculations all day really didn't fit. So about 2 months in, I asked my boss if he could send me to a site, and he shipped me off to Dungeness, which is about 350 miles away. And I spent 6 months down at Dungeness doing a pipework upgrade for a seismic event. Wow. So I was in a boiler suit, in a reactor hall, crawling around. I think that's why I got the job, because not many other people could fit around the pipework to check the designs. And I just had a great time being on a site and seeing how it worked and operated. Then when I went back to HQ, they put me on the project management track, and so I spent the next 5 years or so working on different sites. Worked at Aldermaston at the Atomic Weapons Establishment, looking after a couple of decommissioning projects and installing a new lab there for some of their analytical equipment. And I just found, from a young age, if you just don't say no to anything, then you'll get all these different opportunities. So I just spent the first part of my career travelling around, mostly working on sites and project management. Then I met a CEO, and I honestly didn't know what a CEO was. He came down to site and we got talking, and he was a Man U supporter. I was a Liverpool supporter. It was probably quite rude, actually. And he said, gosh, no one's ever spoken to me like that before. Would you like a job? So I went to work for our chief exec in the corporate development office. This was totally different from engineering or project management. It was all about business development, business growth. I learned about looking at acquisition strategy, looking at how you make a case to grow or extend a business. I attended board meetings. And again, it was just by being in the right place, the right time, taking on board a challenge. It just gave me a completely different set of experiences. And then, over the course of the next 10 or so years, I worked in some really big procurements. I did business development. I worked with a thermal treatment program, geomelts for waste management. I then started my own company and spent 5 years working up a small consultancy, supporting businesses all over the world, actually, in nuclear business development, procurement, bidding, and so on. And just had a fantastic time. Trained my husband from being a gardener to being a graphic designer. And so, got together, had a great time. And then we were part of a huge procurement for a company called Cavendish. And at the end, we were lucky to win this contract. It was billions of pounds worth of work for the organisation. And they offered me a managing director's role. And I thought, I can't do that. I've got no experience at all. But Roger Hardy at the time, who was the chief exec, he convinced me to take the role. And it was just brilliant. Got a great team around me. Was terrified for the first year, and then just absolutely loved it. And then, I've had the opportunity to work internationally with European organisations, American organisations, and I think just putting yourself out there, the opportunities come. I joined NDA 4 years ago to look at waste management. And again, when I was talking about that role, I thought, I don't really do waste management. But it was all about change, transformation, looking at, how we do better in the sector. And honestly, this is just my dream job. So every role has brought me to this point.
And you were also YGN chair?
I was YGN chair about 1,000,000 years ago.
1,000,000 years ago. I love it. This is Corhyn's part of the team of ex-YGNers, which is fabulous.
So I have so much time for YGN, and the being able to work with the new teams as you come up through the different generations is just brilliant. I think in the UK especially, you have such a voice. You push the boundaries far more than we did back in my day. I mean, I joined YGN back in 1999, 2000, so a long, long time ago. And I don't think we were as bold as you are now, but just an absolute pleasure. And, I've still got a lot of the YGN friends that I made back then are friends now, nearly 25 years later.
Oh, amazing. You're such an inspiration for us. So how did you find out, like that is such a massive career? How do you find your day? Like, what do you do day to day now in your CEO role?
Oh my gosh. So we've just brought two companies together. So we've now created a business that's responsible for all waste management and disposal in the UK. So for the last year, we've been going through a real organisational development programme, brought together two executive teams to form one super exec. And we've just spent, as I say, the last year or so looking at our strategy, how we're going to change and grow over the next 5 years or so. And we provide waste services for the whole of the UK. All of the radioactive waste will be disposed of in our facilities. So we're looking at, the long-term view, the investment that we need from government, and how we work with all the waste producers to get the right waste form in the right waste package in the right waste disposal facility.
Amazing. So is that like with the LLWR and the deep geological disposal facility?
So yeah, absolutely. So we run the low-level waste repository in Cumbria. We've been disposing of waste there for over 50 years. We're also developing a deep geological repository. We've got 4 communities interested, and so we've got a long piece of work over the coming years to look at the sites, characterise the sites, and really engage with communities because it's a community-led process. But yes, and everything in between, really.
Amazing. What has been your highlight of your career to date?
Honestly, and it's the role I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I feel like this is what everything has been working up to. Having the opportunity to change how we operate waste in the UK, deliver fantastic waste services and bring it all together in one place. Honestly, it's just a dream come true. And the exec team that we've got and the whole organisation actually is so passionate about waste management and clean, supporting the clean up mission in the UK. I couldn't be any happier than I am right now.
Amazing. So interesting with all this new build going on at the moment that you've got new build, but we still need to get rid of the waste, and it's a full life cycle. If we've got new build, we need to be really hot on the disposal as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're really pleased, obviously, with the new build agenda. It just cements everything that we need to do. We have to make sure we've got the appropriate disposal facilities, and so it just gives us a new energy, really.
So what advice would you give to yourself if you could give advice to yourself when you first started your career? What advice would you give yourself now?
So what I say to others now, just don't ever say no. Never say no, even though you think it might not be aligned to you. Consider opportunities as they come. I was always prepared to move around. I don't think everyone's in that position, but especially when you're young, take those opportunities to move, to travel. I've had the opportunity to work internationally again, in previous years, and you just get a rich view of the international nuclear sector. Being part of YGN, really helped cement that international thinking. And so just never say no to any opportunities, however mad they may seem.
Like this one.
Like this one with a teapot. Yeah.
With our teapot. What hurdles did you face during your career, and how did you get past them?
So, it's funny being a young woman on a site back in, 1999, 2000. The facilities weren't as the same, and there were challenges, like I say, being a young woman, managing a team of far more experienced people. So from a young age, it was difficult to not command authority, but to feel confident in yourself, to be that project manager, to be that leader. And I think it was turning 40. You feel far more comfortable in your own skin. So I think I'd probably tell myself to, those early hurdles, they make you stronger. You work through them. I think now, since becoming a mother 8 years ago, it's that work-life balance. It's making sure that you've got the right balance and you're prioritising. I love my job. It's my hobby. It's what gives me energy. But that was a hurdle, trying to figure out how to do that with children as well. Something that many people go through.
That's such an interesting point. Like, I've had imposter syndrome many a times, and being a young woman as well, that's something you've got to get over. And
we've all got it. I've still got it, and it's I never wore a skirt to work for 15 years. I felt that I had to be like all the men around me. I never had my hair down. It was always tied back in a bun, zero makeup, flat shoes and trousers. And it was, I think, turning 30, you're like, this is ridiculous. So I started wearing heels, just feeling more myself. And so I think that's important. And I think, looking at a more inclusive workforce will really help people just be yourself. You're far more productive at your job when you're not worrying about what people think.
Someone gave me advice, and sums up pretty much what you've just said. Like, never, don't change yourself. Like, your work speaks for itself type thing. Just be who you want to be. I think it's quite nice in the industry that people do seem to be very much themselves, like, much more comfortable in themselves now, which is great.
Definitely. And I think we're learning how to celebrate differences, and that's the point. That's where you get that vibrant challenge, discussion, and, in a safety conscious environment like ours, you need everyone's voices to keep pushing boundaries.
Yeah, definitely. So what future goals have you got for yourself? Personal and professional?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to work internationally again, when the children are a bit older and I've got more time for travel. I really enjoy, collaborating with organisations. So that'll certainly be something in the future. And I just love working with all the different businesses that we've got here in the UK. So just expanding what we're doing, really, doing more of it.
Yeah, it's just like super exciting. It's absolutely amazing. Last question I've got for you is, how did the YGN benefit you as an individual and during your career?
I was talking to my husband this morning, because he was with me through all those YGN years, and you do give up a lot of your own time to get involved in things, but it's honestly made me as an individual. It's supported my career. The YGN team that we worked with, we're still all close now. We've all moved up through the sector together. I think the benefit in the early days was having access to the leaders across the industry. You put yourself out there, you put in situations that, speaking at international conferences, getting to do things like this. I think it just gives you that understanding, what it takes to be a leader in the sector. And it gives you those skills to push yourself a little bit. I say it's okay to be terrified, but bravery is being scared and getting on and doing it anyway. And I think that group of support that YGN gives you to just edge on a bit further you can't top it. And I know it's so strong in the UK and in the international market. I don't know any other sector that has that kind of young, vibrant voice and total support from the leaders in the sector.
It's such a passion, isn't it? Like, when anyone says, "Oh, do you like your job?" I love my job. It's every day is different. No, thank you so much for joining us today and doing this podcast with us. It's such an honour to have you here and listening to you. Very inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.